Hello, 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 and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kempo. I am Reggie Darden, and we have another wonderful guest with me today. Got a Mr. Paul Hertzog, and this episode's probably going to be a little bit different than the usual. In that, well, I guess we're going to find out. I'm not sure if you do any martial arts yourself. Uh,
No, I don't. I don't want to disillusion anyone, but really don't know much about it other than what I've been exposed to in the movies that I've scored.
Gotcha. Okay, okay, okay. So yeah, then this episode will be different in that you're not a martial artist yourself. We'll kind of make you a honorary martial artist for today.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
So the reason that I have Mr. Herzog on today is that he is, even though he doesn't do martial arts, he is definitely a a major part of many of our journeys. In that he did the music for a very iconic movie in the martial arts world. Well, at least two iconic martial arts movies. You did the music for Bloodsport and for Kickboxer, the uh, Van Damme action extraordinaire movies that, at least for Bloodsport, definitely got many of us involved into the martial arts. So um, yeah, I wanted to have you on and kind of learn about the process and just kind of how that all came about. So we're just gonna kind of jump right in and I guess we'll start with how did you get started with just kind of music in general, and then we'll kind of move into the blood sport and kickboxer.
Okay. Briefly, I'll try to keep it brief. I grew up in a family of classical musicians, and I studied classical piano from the age of 4. And by the time I got to college, rock and roll had kind of seeped into my system. So instead of pursuing any kind of career that my college might have led me to, I decided to drop it all and go to New York and become a rock and roll musician. Um, it didn't get me where I hoped I would get, at least not right away. And after about 5.5 years of kicking around New York and ultimately ending up playing in just club bands, I moved to LA, where I continued for a couple of years playing in club bands, but then got involved in recording and synthesizer programming and eventually producing and finally into composing. I kind of got lucky in a number of ways. Some friends of mine got a really low budget movie to score. It was not very good. And they hired me to do synth programming and drum machine programming to save money. And about a quarter of the way into the project, the director was really unhappy with some of what he was hearing. So I ended up writing a couple of uh, songs, and the director liked them. I brought in some rock and roll people that I knew, musicians that were really good. We recorded them, and then I became sort of composer on that. The editor and sound supervisor, all same guy on that picture, hired me later to do another picture called My Chauffeur. Didn't do too much because they'd already bought a lot of music for it, but at least I had a credit. I had a pretty good credit because it did quite well when it was first released. And okay, let's segue to something else. Maybe a year or so later, I got hired to do a little job composing some music for a straight to video uh, presentation of a woman telling stories to kids. It was boring as all get out, but the guy that produced it was a guy named Mark DeSalle. That may ring a bell for some of the fans of Bloodsport. Um, and actually, I saved that project because somebody else had done music originally, and they couldn't use it. It was so bad. So in 3 days, I put together something like 12 or 13 cues and a title song, and got it all written and recorded. And Mark really was happy with it. So about half a year later, I heard from a friend of mine that Mark was in Hong Kong filming a movie, a martial arts movie. So I got my friend to tell me when Mark was back. I called him up, said, "Hey, Mark, I hear you've been doing a martial arts movie. I'd love a chance to do the music." So I went to the Canon screening room. Mark invited me down. I sat with Mark and the director, and we watched the film. It wasn't quite in its final form, but it was pretty close. In fact, the only thing I can remember being different was they had not put in the scenes with the kids, the flashback part where there are other little kids playing
Oh
the
yeah,
Jean Claude Van Damme role and stuff.
gotcha.
Well, other than that, I think it was done. There's been a lot of talk about how the fight scenes had to be re-edited and all this stuff about Jean Claude getting involved in that. I think that was already done by the time I saw it. This was early in 1987. I think it was in January or something. Um, so I watched the whole movie. It's the first time I'd seen it. First time I'd seen anything like that, to be honest. And I'm sitting there looking at Jean Claude Van Damme and saying, "This guy's going to be a star. I want to do this movie." So I'm sitting there trying to figure out a way I can talk Mark into it. But then after the screening's over, he and I were walking out together, and he says to me, "Okay, Canon's got a budget of X, not very big. Take it or leave it. If it's not enough money, well, I'll have to get somebody else." But of course, I took it. Uh, and then I got to work. I think it was another couple of months before I actually got the final edit finalized and ready to work. I think I composed for about 3 weeks um, at home. And then I went into the studio for 2.5 weeks. I got it all done. Didn't have much sleep, but I was a lot younger then. And the rest is history. Oh, well, not quite, because we finished the film spring of '87, and Canon decided they didn't like it. The powers that be. It wasn't until early 1988 that they finally released it. They released it in just 5 states. But even in those 5 states, it made the top 20 in Billboard that week. So, hey, they had to release it nationwide and then worldwide, and it did really well. And it's still playing all the time on streaming services and cable TV and wherever else people can watch it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
In
It's
fact,
definitely very iconic, very inspiring to many a young person and older people as well, as far as getting into martial arts and uh, uh, seeing Van Damme doing this thing really got people uh, got him into the training halls and movie theaters and such. So
yeah, yeah, it was a big surprise to me because it was such a low budget film, but somehow it turned out right,
Mhm.
and boy, people still love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I watch it, rewatch it on a regular, just because it's a fun watch. So just to
Yeah.
kind of roll back here a little bit. So now with your interest in music, was uh did you always want to be on kind of the composer side of it, or did you want to, be the man on stage and, be front and center, or kind of.
Well, originally, when transitioned out of classical music, because I knew I didn't want to be a classical musician anyway. It was just kind of a hobby in a way. Originally, I thought I wanted to be, a rock and roll star. Sure, and go out there and play and write songs and be on stage. I was never going to be a front man. I was always sitting behind keyboards, kind of quietly in the background. But I didn't. Well, I was in an original band when I first moved to New York, and I wrote some songs. And looking back, they were pretty bad. So I just stopped even thinking about composing for quite a few years. And after I was in New York, after I left New York and came to LA, I continued on that route being a sideman until maybe 4 or 5 years in. And I started getting these ideas that I wanted to be writing music myself. And it wasn't songs I wanted to write, it was instrumental stuff. And I saw a lot of movies in those days. And, some of them had great music, but some of them had pretty bad music. I was saying, well, I could do that. I can do something like that. So I started trying, and I was lucky to have friends that helped me get into it. Very lucky. So, you know, it's a crapshoot. This guy that I met in New York, who used to rehearse in my loft space, later became a good friend of mine in L.A. He moved out here too, and he's the guy that introduced me to Mark DeSalle. Just kind of, he had become a video director and filmographer. And he's the guy that did that children's video for Mock, and he was my connection to Mark. You just never know what's going to lead to what. It's very random. It's in my life. I kind of look back on my life as kind of a series of accidents. It's not exactly. It was never planned. If I had planned my life, I wouldn't have done this at all. So
Yeah, I think
there you go.
I think many of us are in the similar boat, in that, things happen the way that they happen, and we just happen to fall into it, and whether it was, fate or destiny, or whatever. I think most of us do the things that we do, not necessarily by choice, at least all the way. And our paths
Right.
definitely change from where they think we're gonna go. So
Yeah, mine has changed several times, to say the least.
change is good
So
though.
I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how I came up with the music, we can do that.
Yeah, yeah. I was curious
Um,
about how the process goes. Like, well, like you mentioned, watching the movie. Uh, like, while you're watching it, are you already kind of thinking of things, or kind of how does the
mm,
process for composing kind of.
well, it depends on what kind of composing you're doing. For me, it was always electronic based, and I would have to enter data into some sort of machine that would save the data. Now, 1987, I didn't have what I have now, which is this whole integrated computer system where I can watch the movie and sync to it and write music all out of the same computer. That technology hadn't been developed, or if it had been, I couldn't afford it. So I had an old standalone sequencer that I could record MIDI data into. I couldn't record the music myself at home, so I had to eventually take my data to a studio and hire an engineer and pay for a studio and buy tape and all that stuff. But initially, I got a VHS copy of the film. The film, well, this was done on film. It was before digital films were being done, or maybe they were being done in a few high priced places, but the digital stuff was pretty new. Um, so they filmed and then edited it into different reels. There were, I think, usually 9 reels in a feature. Every reel was about 10 minutes or a little less. So I'm sitting in my house with a little VHS recorder hooked up into a TV so I could watch it. And I got my bank of keyboards and I got this sequencer. And I just watched the film over and over, each scene, over and over and over, till I figure out what's going to work. I usually am improvising to the picture to get an idea of what kind of feel I want. If it's a fight scene or an action scene, I'll generally put down a drum pulse. In those days, I used a drum machine that I would program separately from the sequencer. So you just put in, I'd try to find a beat that seemed about right, put in some drums, usually just a bass drum, we call it kick drum, and try to find out what's going to work. It was a lot of work. I had to do a lot of math. I didn't have the computer that could do the math for me. So I could figure out, you know, how am I going to get from point A to B? First of all, what speed does it take? Second of all, how does that translate into measures of music? And sometimes it's tricky. So a lot of times I'm changing tempos slightly every measure. I do it a little differently now because the computer will calculate that for me. But but it was a lot of it was just trial and error. See how if I slow down to here or speed up to there, will I end up where I want to end up at the end of the measure? So that took a lot of time, and it took a lot of time then to translate those measures into actual good music that fit the scene. Now, writing for a slow scene, there's a few slow scenes in Bloodsport and Kickboxer. That's a lot different. Right? I sort of free form, just improvising with some kind of piano sound or string sound or something to try and get the feel that the scene needed. And one thing about martial arts films is a lot of martial artists aren't necessarily schooled actors. And sometimes the emotion that a trained actor can convey is not being conveyed by somebody that's trained to be a fighter. And that's where the music can come in and make the emotions happen. So a lot of the quieter scenes, that's my job, making the emotions work. And that's kind of how it came about.
Gotcha. Now,
Now I
were
will
you?
say that
Oh, go ahead.
I'll say Mark DeSalle, the producer, was very much into having temporary music when he was editing. Um, so before I started, I kind of knew what kind of feeling he was looking for musically. I did not attempt, as some composers do, to just reproduce his temp music, but I looked for, something like maybe the drum pulse. I said, okay, that'll work. And then just took that idea of, say, quarter note kick drum beat throughout the fight scene. And that would be the only thing I would take from the temp music and then write my own style of notes on top of that and chords. And that's kind of where it started. And after many hours of work, I got it done. On Bloodsport, I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for the whole time I was composing. It was a lot of work, but I got it done.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, so kind of going along with the temp music. So were you told like we need the music to sound like this, or
No,
was
no, he didn't say that. he just I just knew that he was looking for something in that kind of a feel. Let's say I stole feels, but I didn't steal music.
Gotcha.
Um, and you would be hard pressed to guess what type of music I even was being inspired by.
Yeah,
In
I would
fact,
be curious
I
to.
can't remember. The during the fight scenes, he had just had some kind of it was some kind of dance music, from like a disco kind of dance place. Not quite the '70s disco, but '80s disco, let's say.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
I don't even remember what song it was. And it didn't have any lyrics, or I think the song may have, but the part he used over and over was just instrumental stuff.
Mm, gotcha. Gotcha.
The scene where Jean Claude's in the driving the tram after his buddy gets kicked in the head by Chong Li. Um, he used this song by Phil Collins, "In the Air Tonight," as the temp music. Now, I don't think my songs that I wrote for that sounds like that,
Mhm.
but it kind of has the same dreamy feel and some of the same kind of drum fills, kind of, insofar as I could reproduce them on my rather limited equipment.
Gotcha. 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 You know, was there kind of anything maybe that uh now now that you the technology's changed and things like that, do you think there's anything that maybe you would have done differently with the music, or is there any maybe
Yeah, I
parts that
probably
you
would have done.
feel?
Yeah, I probably would have done a lot of things differently, but I don't know now if the fans would have liked it as much. Because one of the things that fans seem to like today is that it was so primitive. This primitive synth sounds, they've become very popular again with a lot of people. And, you know, it's funny that the stuff that bothers me doesn't bother people that are fans of the music. So I'm not even going to start listing the things that I might have done differently if I could have, because there are a number of composers, young composers to me, in their 30s and 40s that have found me to express their admiration for that score, the Bloodsport score. And whenever I tell them certain things that I didn't like, they say, "Oh no, that's great. We love that." So um, I'm not going to expose what I might do differently to a general audience. Um, I did a film uh, about a year and a half ago, was it? Called The Last Kumite. It's my return to film scoring. And if you listen to that music, you'll kind of get an idea of what I might have done differently in some ways. Um, the movie has some definite flaws. One of the Well, I'm not going to get into that either, but it was fun to do that, and you can hear what I could do with technology. Now, when I did Bloodsport, I had to hire a couple drummers to do a lot of things that I couldn't do with my machines, but now I can do pretty much anything I want to do because technology is so easier,
Yeah, the
and the sound
improvements,
bank, and I
technology
have yeah,
improvements
yeah,
are pretty amazing.
and I have just unlimited sounds pretty much. So, uh, you know, uh, I don't really think that I should do anything different. I did what I did at the time because that's what I had available to do, and the fans like it. So there's no use sitting here moaning about what I would like to do differently,
Gotcha.
because
Gotcha.
it might not have worked. You for whatever reason, the music in that film works, and the fans like it. I just recently filmed an interview that's going to come out when they release the 40th anniversary Bloodsport film, which is coming up in what, 2.5 years, early 2028, and there's still so much interest in the film. It's just like so cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going somewhere with that, but I forgot where I was going. So
Well, so since since you're probably the one person that's seen the movie more times than I have, did you have any kind of thought that it was going to be this kind of uh, iconic staple of movies, or
no, I absolutely did not. It was done on the cheap. I mean, they filmed that movie for very little money, and I think estimates that people make, if you look it up online, are larger than they actually spent. I think they spent less. I don't remember all the details. Mark told me some things, but I don't remember them all. But it was, even at the high end, it was made for like 1.5 million. I think it was probably done for less. And who knew? I just figured I was going to get a credit, and maybe I could get some more work after that because of the credit. And who knew? It's turned into an annuity for me because it's so popular. I'm still making money off of that picture, which is great.
yeah,
Because
keep that
now that I'm old, I just worked on 2 more movies, and I realized it was just too much for an old guy to do. So I'm done, and it's nice to have some money coming in that I don't have to work for.
yeah, that
It's just
mailbox
coming
money
in.
is good stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Very nice.
And I just found out that a couple cues from Bloodsport were used in a TV show I'd never heard of, some Apple thing, and I forget the name of it.
Hmm.
But there's some money flowing, a little bit of a licensing fee that I get. So
Oh, very nice, very nice. I'll have to track down, find out what show that is, and sparked my
something
curiosity
about
to.
something about friends and neighbors. I forget exactly.
Oh, okay, okay.
Let me write it.
That title rings a bell. So I'll have to add that to my list to check it out and look for those sound cues there. Um.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you, I don't know if you're a fan of the Cobra Kai series,
Oh yes, yes,
but
very nice.
they used a clip from Bloodsport in one of the episodes. That was a nice little taste. And but by the way, the two composers of Cobra Kai are have become friends of mine, and therefore they were definitely influenced by Bloodsport.
Did they
They don't.
reach out to you at all
I
for some
Yeah,
advice or
yeah.
anything?
No, not advice. Just they're totally capable. They don't need me. Um, and unlike some composers that have tried to copy me, they didn't try to copy me. They just did their own thing. But you can hear there's an influence, and it's cool. In fact, Zach Robinson, one of the composers, just did an interview for this upcoming Bloodsport documentary to talk about my music,
Oh, I did
which
not
is
know that
really
there was
cool.
going to be a
Really
documentary on it.
cool. Well, that's the one that I told you was going to come out in 2028,
Oh, okay, okay.
um, when they released the 40th anniversary version. I mean, they just released a 4K version a couple of years ago, so I don't know how many versions they're going to keep doing, but
As many as people
I'm
will
not
pay
going to
for.
complain.
As many as people will pay
Yeah,
for,
yeah,
they'll keep pumping them out. So
yeah. Well, that's fine with me.
very nice,
So
very nice. So
anyway, what else?
I wanted to jump over to Kickboxer, but before I forget about it, there's
Okay,
one thing in particular, well, number of things, but one thing I wanted to make sure that we got to is the scene, the scene where Jean-Claude Van Damme is in the bar and he gets drunk and he's doing his dancing
Right.
and everything. So that, whenever the song that's playing, during that scene, um, it always, invoked a similarity to, Living in America, uh,
Right.
the
I
James
did not
Brown
write
song.
that song. That's
Okay.
not my song. In fact,
Gotcha.
the only song with vocals in that movie that I wrote was the opening song, "Streets of Siam."
Okay.
The other songs were bought by I d it Mark bought them from other people.
Yeah,
I
okay.
wrote a whole bunch of songs for him. He didn't like any of them, so he bought some other stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I did the instrumental stuff and I did that opening song, and that was it for me. Now, I really personally like the music I did for Kickboxer better than what I did for Bloodsport because I knew a lot more and I knew how to do things in the studio that I didn't know when I did Bloodsport. So to me, the music sounds a lot better. To me, the music in Bloodsport sounds sort of one-dimensional sonically. I don't mean in its impact.
Mhm.
When I learned how to make the music in Kickboxer have a wider and more varied sound, it sounds three-dimensional to me. And I worked really hard to make that happen because I knew a lot more about the studio, and I didn't let my engineer do as much as he did on Bloodsport. I did a lot of the engineering myself when it came to mixing, or at least I participated. So that it was a different experience. You know, the movie didn't do as well. It's not. It did well, but it hasn't been the blockbuster over the years that Bloodsport is. So I definitely appreciate Bloodsport,
Yeah, yeah,
but I really like the music I did for Kickboxer a lot.
gotcha.
So
Now, was the kind of the creation process kinda the same as Bloodsport as far as, you're watching scenes and you're, uh
yeah, watching scenes over and over and over till I get the feel. I had become really much quicker at doing all the technical stuff I had to do because I had done a couple other movies in between those two, and I had done some recording with I produced an album for somebody on spec. I got paid, but the album was a spec album, never came out. I produced, I wrote some stuff and arranged some stuff for some other artists. So I had been really busy in that little period, which is the one time in my life that I was actually busy as a musician, composer, producer, whatever. And, it didn't last long. But that's, that was a busy time, and I knew a lot more what I was doing when I did Kickboxer than when I did Bloodsport. So, you know, I have mixed feelings. And more, I'm becoming a Bloodsport fan just because of how successful it's been.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for a long time, I preferred Kickboxer. I think Jean Claude did some really good for him. He did some really good acting in Kickboxer, so he had gotten better himself.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's definitely improved. There's a show that he was a part of called Jean-Claude Van Johnson, and
Yeah, I love that. I
uh,
love that. That was so good.
yeah, that was very
You
very
know,
entertaining. I was quite surprised by that. And then also he did his movie JCVD, which I found very very entertaining and kind of
right? That
surprising.
I
Kind of
haven't
look at.
seen that one,
Yeah,
but
it's very good.
he's not he's not willing to. He's not. He's willing to be goofy
Yeah.
and make fun of himself, and it makes him more human. He's not trying to be some somebody from out, the outer one of these outer space movies or superhero movies.
Mhm.
He takes all that with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
and he doesn't mind making fun of himself,
Yeah.
which is that's part of his charm. When the guy has charm, uh, it's not just a pretty buddy that can kick people in the head. Um, he's got this way of charming people, so
Yeah,
it's
for
not all
sure, for sure,
seriousness.
for sure. So
Yeah,
did you ever get a chance to meet him or have any interactions with?
I'm I did not meet him. I think in Bloodsport until the there was a screening for all the participants at Canon after we finished in the summer of '87. I think that's when I first met him. But during Kickboxer, I ran into him quite a few times. I never sat and talked to him, but I ran into him a few times, and he was quite often with Michel Kisi, who now calls himself Mohammed Kisi. They were together most of the time. They were really close to. Um, in fact, that's how I found out that Michel was playing the bad guy in Kickboxer. I had gone to an early screening of Kickboxer, some movie lot. I don't remember where it was, and Michel and Jean Claude were at the screening as well. And when I was walking out, happened to run into Michel, and he said, "Well, how did you like me in the movie?" And I said, "You were in that movie?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Who did you play?" He said, "Tong Po." I said, "What?" I did not know that. And for a long time, Mark DeSalle wanted to keep that a secret. And in the credits of Kickboxer, it says Tong Po is played by himself. Um, but eventually it came out. But they had to do a lot of makeup to make a guy from North Africa look like a Thai kickboxer. But he did a great job, and you know Jean Claude wouldn't let just anybody beat him up. And in the final fight scene of Kickboxer, Jean Claude gets beat up a lot in the early stages. So he trusted Michelle to do that.
Yeah, I
So
remember being very surprised by learning the secret of Tong Po as well. I was like, yeah, that, they really pulled the number on us because yeah, I had no idea and uh it's
mhm.
like oh well it's that guy from Bloodsport was the was Tong
Yeah,
Po like
yeah,
that doesn't that doesn't track but yeah that was quite a surprise so.
yeah. I've actually seen some pictures of Michelle getting the makeup put on. It was quite involved.
Mhm.
So but what he was a great villain, and that's one of the things that makes both Bloodsport and Kickboxer work is they have great villains. I mean, you know, uh, you got to say Bolo is a really
Oh yeah.
killer villain.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely definitely made his mark and really left an impression on all of us, and you know, he definitely is
Yeah,
the guy you root to. It's like yeah, let's make sure that he gets beat up because he he's making us pretty angry. So yeah, they did great work on those. So
yeah. Well, you can't have a hero unless he beats up some bad guy,
yeah,
and it's only in the last reel that he gets to win.
mhm,
It looks like he's down and out, and finally picks himself up and wins. So
exactly,
that's the way these kind of movies work.
exactly, exactly.
So yeah.
So
So
there's one other little piece that I wanted to get to here, and then we'll head towards wrapping up our time for today. But so kind of the first thing uh, is what I guess what musicians, music, what kind of influence inspire you, and then the kind of second part of the question, are there any kind of projects or things that maybe you wish you were involved in? Maybe there's a movie or something that came out and it's like, oh, like I think I could have, did some better music for that than this, or anything like that.
That question, I don't know. I don't know. People have asked me that before. I never really look at a movie and think, "Oh, I should have done that." Um, I have seen plenty of movies that I thought the music wasn't particularly good. That doesn't necessarily mean I thought I could have done better. Not every movie is right for every composer. Um, but my musical influences, we can talk about that, are very, very, very varied. I would say. I grew up on classical music, and I still love a lot of classical music, but certainly not everything. Um, and some of it is old, and some of it is new, and no rhyme or reason. It's just the things I like. Um, I got into listening to rock and roll not until really I was in college, and the Beatles were kind of what turned me around into that, and I started listening to all kinds of things. I mean, I went to college in the late '60s near San Francisco, so I got to hear a lot of those San Francisco psychedelic bands, and I loved that at the time. When I hear it now, I'm kind of, maybe that wasn't so good, but some of it was. Some of it still is. I just got into a lot of different things. And then when I moved to New York, actually, the guy I was in a band with was really into modern jazz. And so I got into listening to a lot of avant garde jazz, a lot of which I don't listen to anymore. I appreciate it, but it's not relaxing to listen to. Um, so I had a lot of influences. There are a lot of film composers I like Ennio Morricone. Love his music. I'm a real big fan of John Williams. I couldn't do music like him. I did study classical composition and various techniques, but I never really did that. I didn't have the experience. So, not having done it when I was young, pretty hard to do it later. So I gravitated toward what I did know, which was electronics. Um, so, a lot of different influences. I suppose I should talk a little bit about what happened to me after Kickboxer
Oh, yes, 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 please.
because because it seemed like Kickboxer went over pretty well at the box office, and I thought the music was good. And for some reason, Mark DeSalle decided to cut me out of his crew, so I did not do the next few movies he did before he got out of the business, and I couldn't seem to get any work. I did one more movie, but it was a really low budget, not very good martial arts movie called Breathing Fire, and after that, I couldn't get work. So I I changed professions. I went and got a teaching credential, and I taught high school English and music for 27 years. And then, lo and behold, after I retired from that in my mid 70s, I started doing more film music. So I did the last Kumite, and then this year done. I did a documentary called Colliery Kid, just about martial arts uh, called Colliery, which is from southern India, and it features this documentary features a number of different women who are doing the martial arts, and they are really incredible. But doing this picture, I had to rush because I had another picture coming up right after it, and the director was very demanding, and I got exhausted doing it. And I was supposed to do another picture right after that for the producer of Last Kumite, and I had to tell him I couldn't do it all. So I only did part of it, and the younger guy did the rest. And I decided, you know, I got my little fun going back into some composing for a bit, and now I'm done. I am finished. I realized that, you know, when the year that the 40th anniversary of Bloodsport comes out will be the year I turn 80. So I think I'm done. I've had it,
Well,
but it's been fun.
well, you definitely put in some great work. I know myself. I've been listening to the soundtracks quite frequently as of late. It gets me hyped up when I'm heading for class. So
Yeah,
it really works out.
that's what
Works out good.
a lot of people listen to my music when they work out. So it's really cool. You know,
Excellent.
it's a very gratifying thing to know that people around the world are listening to my music and enjoying it. You know,
So
I can tell every time I get a royalty statement just how many people are, well, at least how many people are listening to it in a format that pays. So there's probably a lot of people listening to it that just went out and bought the CD themselves and listened to that over and over, which
Mhm.
is fine. It's just nice to know
Well,
that I did
I'm
something
happy
that
to
makes a lot of
support your
people
work
happy.
there. So.
Great. Well, thank you.
So, yeah,
So,
so we're at our final part of the episode here, and you kind of already hit this, but I'll give the your official spot here, and this is the part that I call the shameless self promotion. So, anything that you want to plug, or if there's anything that you wanted to say that we didn't maybe we didn't get to. Yeah, you have your moment to do that, and then I will close out from there.
well, I think people that like my music have already found it, but if any of your listeners haven't, well, I got stuff streaming just about everywhere. Um, so, Apple Music or Spotify or any of the streaming services, you can buy downloads on Amazon. You can find my music wherever you find your music if you just look up my name. And then there's a variety of things, some of which you might not know. I put out a couple of solo CDs during the time I was working as a teacher. Um, one was called Waking the Dragon, and the other was called Freeing the Waters. They're out there streaming. And so, people want to listen. That's great. Um, I'm proud of all that stuff. I appreciate all the fans that have supported it over the years.
Excellent.
So that's my about my only plug.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I will be sure to check those out and definitely get those links and things to that out to the listeners to come in and check you out as well. So.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So, yes, I thank you so much for taking the time to be on. We had a little technical difficulties early on, but we got those worked out. So, I'm just
Yeah.
so thankful for the work that you've done and for you to be on to kind of share your story. And now I have more reasons to watch Bloodsport and Kickboxer. And I will also mention Breathing Fire. I actually did enjoy it. Yes, it's definitely not the same level as Bloodsport and Kickboxer, but I did enjoy Breathe Fire and
Mhm.
your work on that as well. So
Oh
I
yeah.
will give a
Yeah,
shout out to
I
that.
am proud. Yeah, I am proud of that music, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's
And
very good.
the CDs are available for Breathing Fire also. So that's something people can look for if they want.
Well, once again, I thank you
Okay.
for being on, and I will be in touch when this episode's ready to go out. And I just thank you so much for being on and sharing your story.
Okay. Thanks, Reggie.
All right. You have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to My Empty Hands. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with an enemy. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the show, please email me at podcast@talkingkempo.com. Thank you.